Today, we're recapping week 3 of college football, what it means for the 2026 NFL draft. The Moneymakers, the bag fumblers, and who gets the game ball? That's next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, you know what it is. It's Monday after college football, which means we recap the action. Moneymakers, a.k.a. stock up, bag fumblers, stock down, and then Coach Cade, Coach DP hands out the game balls. Keith, let's start with the Moneymakers. Listen, the first 3 weeks, technically, if you count week 0, they were okay, right? Oh, yeah, we had some good ones. We had some slugfests on Saturday, Keith, in week 3. Yep. I go right to probably the main one in the afternoon, which was the Tennessee Georgia game. Went to overtime, and it was a receiver I've had my eyes on. I just didn't know when he was going to pop for him, and it's Chris Brazzell, the receiver from Tennessee, 6'5", feels like Josh Heupel has a type. Because this is the second one in a row.
Lean, mean, right?
Right. This is the second one in a row. Back-to-back draft classes like that. Last year was Deontay Thornton. Yep. Like, what was he, like 6? I think same thing, like 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds, 4'3" athlete. Chris Brazzell, 6'5", 200 even, and he's probably gonna be another 4'4", 4'3" athlete as well. This young man played such a great game, Keith, and against a Georgia secondary that it was kind of you wanted to see what we talked about. Like Kirby Smart has had the defensive answer for Josh Heupel for feels like years now. Chris Brazzell was 6 for 6, 177 yards receiving. He averaged 29.5 yards per catch and 3 receiving touchdowns. I felt like this was a guy that just stamped himself, and that was a coming out game for him, right? Amongst a wide receiver class that a lot of talent, different body types. We talked about that on what was it, Thursday or Thursday in draft storylines. You brought it up like this is NFL teams need some playmakers. Yep. Well, this is a guy that teams to keep their eyes on, Keith, because the ball skills. There were a couple throws that Joey Aguilar he put too much air under and left it hanging a little bit, and then you just saw the ability to adjust to the ball in flight. This young man had an outstanding game against Georgia, and it felt like it didn't matter who they put on him. They had no answer for him. He made plays.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're talking about just like a standout guy, right? And the ability to go up and over guys, the ability to run past guys, the ability to play. And we always say this, to play to your size, right? Because it's a lot of guys that stand 6'4", 6'5", and they let the football come to them, right? Well, if you let the football come to you, then you're probably only 5'9", right? 5'8", 5'7", right? So there's no reason to be 6'4", 6'5". But Brazzell consistently made plays, and you've seen him with the free releases, free access, and how he was able to eat up ground so much that he caught a lot of the Georgia defenders off kilter a little bit, right? And I'll even say this, that when I was watching the game, I was thinking from an X's and O's standpoint, right? Because Tennessee had 21 points, I think, in the first quarter. And so you look at it and you say, we obviously know this Tennessee offense is unique, but teams like Georgia and teams like Alabama, y'all face them every year for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? Since Josh Heupel has been there, I think it's 5 years. So from a schematic standpoint, it's just rinse and repeat. So I look at it and I say, these players were prepared. They just didn't have an answer for this type and level of talent, right? Like that was the talent part was unexpected from the Georgia defenders. I don't know if you agree, but like when I watched it, 100%. I seen that. And that's why I gave the nod to Chris Brazzell. I was like, okay, like there's something you're doing that's catching these guys off guard, because they definitely ran through the reps. They definitely schemed it. They definitely practiced it, talking about the Georgia defenders, and you were still able to beat it, right? So I look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I think it was a situation where Keith, I don't believe Joey Aguilar had thrown a lot of deep passes up into this into that game. So I think that played a part in it too. They were expecting kind of some underneath stuff, try to dink and dunk and work their way down the field. And then you get 6'5" with a free release just striding past you. And if he's leaving. And even there was a couple plays where you saw the guys like kind of grabbing at his, trying to be physical as the ball is getting ready to arrive. And he just, like you said, played to his frame, and he played to that size of 6'5", 200 pounds, and made the catches at the catch point. Even I think there was the one, was it the middle of the field? I think it was like a post route or something like that. It hung for a minute though, like it hung for a while, and then he went up, got it against. He just went over the DB and took it, and then he kept his balance, and then walked in for a touchdown. And I'm just like, this is like Randy Moss type stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not calling him Moss, but it's a couple of those throws like Moss on Monday night should be like, you got Moss, because he did that consistently, Keith. So definitely a guy that made himself a lot of money, because I don't believe many draft analysts and draft fans in the community had this young man penciled in their wide receiver rankings or lists at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go with this, DP. I'm gonna go same game. I'm gonna go opposite side of the football, same position. I'm gonna go with Zachariah Branch, and we talked about him last week, but I thought that he had a similar kind of coming out party to what what's our guy Deion Burks did game. But I look at it from Georgia's perspective. And it was one play specifically where it was Zachariah Branch, and it looked like the defenders had angles on him, right? And they replayed it on the TV, and he straight up outran the angles. And that's when you start looking at it and you be like, okay, this guy is kind of different from a lot of different people, right? And that's why I went back to my point last week. I was like, hey, we have a lot of smaller, shiftier wide receivers, and it's a couple that's starting to separate themselves. And I think Zachariah Branch put his name on a radar for a lot of people that obviously haven't dove deep into the film. It was like, okay, who are some of the best playmakers in college football? Zachariah Branch is one of those guys. Georgia just needs to figure out how to get him even more touches, right? Like the guy is different. Like you talk about quick screens, bubble screens, all those different things. Georgia give him a couple, but he's a guy that needs to walk away from every game with 12 touches, right? Because the guy's speed, electricity, start-stop ability, contact balance, everything is electric. And you couldn't, and I don't know if you brought it up for him, but it was somebody, like when you talk about the Zay Flowers, right? And how those guys are able to just directly impact the game. Branch has that opportunity to just shift the game because his speed is so electric. And you can tell even in defenders' approach that once they get a gauge for his speed, him in open field and them having to make one-on-one tackles, they're nervous, right? Like they leave a cushion of 5 yards to be like, yo, we're not going to get too close because this guy's going to embarrass us. So I looked at Branch just from a national perspective. I think he made himself some money because it was like, okay, Georgia has a big-time opponent. Let's see what they do. And he was one of the bright spots offensively for offense that kind of, I think the best word is interesting, right? Like just how they went about the game, and like if you're fully confident in Georgia's offense or not, you just kind of like, well, they won, I guess. Right? Like, that's how you feel about it. But I look at Branch and I say he was definitely a bright spot for them.
Absolutely. Like you said, the speed, the run after catch ability, the diverse ways you can get him the football in space, and things like that. I think he projects as that, like, just that, like, do that yards from scrimmage slot receiver in the NFL. Like that you want to get him in motion. I'm lining him up in the backfield. I'm doing all type of things with him to get him matched up on whoever's not fast enough to run with him. Like, you know what I mean? That's just what I'm going to do, and that's the beauty of it, is like getting him with a OC that's going to really buy into everything he brings and fully utilize that, Keith. But I'll close this out, man. Le'Veon Moss for Texas A&M. They get the big time win again. Kicking, not a strong suit on Saturday. This wasn't Notre Dame didn't lose because of their kicker. They lost because their backup quarterback dropped the snap. And the kicker couldn't get the ball, couldn't kick the ball. But I think
that was a tough way to go out too.
That's a tough way to lose that game at home at that, right? At home, that's a tough way to lose, man. But Le'Veon Moss had himself a very strong game for Texas A&M. He ended up having 3 rushing touchdowns. And this was a guy at 5'11", listed at 210. 20 carries, 81 yards rushing, a little over 4 yards per carry. and he averaged, I think 39 of his 81 yards came after contact, and he just got stronger as the game went on. And then, like I said, in the red zone when they needed to score, it was Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah, no, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. And I agree with you with Le'Veon Moss, right? And I think that what he showed was and this is how I felt when I watched the film, that he has a power element to him, right? Like he'll run through people, but he also has a little open field acceleration too, right? To where it's like, okay, you start to think of this guy like in an element of like a kind of power back type of thing, right? Like I think his frame doesn't necessarily suit that, but he runs that way. And that's what you can find appreciation with, like a downhill guy. But DP, let's do this, man. We talked about the guys that made themselves some money. Let's talk about the guys that lost themselves some money. There were a couple of them. So we got to have some conversations. We don't like doing it, but we have to do it. So coming up next, man, we're going to talk about the bag fumblers, the guys that lost themselves some money in college football.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I, we make decisions every single day. But on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back in season, Prize Picks is the simplest yet fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds, less than a minute. I've been playing Prize Picks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Bag Fumblers, a.k.a. Stock Down. And Keith, this is a guy that, for me, that I highlighted last week. I'm like, man, like the way he's played the first couple of weeks of the season, throwing over 400 yards each game, had the overtime win over SMU. It was Sawyer Robertson. They didn't play. They finally got like that because they started off with Auburn. Then you get SMU, right? They were 1-1. They're after 3 weeks, they're 2-1. So the team won the game. Don't get it twisted. The team won. He just didn't look good in the win. Like that was the problem. You know what I mean? Especially after playing like the two opponents you had, Auburn and SMU, two teams that are good, that have good defenses, that can challenge you. And in those games, he threw for over 400 yards each time. And then you get a little bit of a cupcake on the schedule, right? And it's like almost like you play it down to your competition. And I don't like seeing that type of stuff from a guy who, like, again, who's had a hot start to the season. I want to see you continue to play that way. He was 22 of 36, 61% completion against Samford. Let me put that. They played Samford. 207 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt, 3 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Up until this point, he hadn't thrown an interception, and he played much better teams. So you play down in your competition. You just kind of lackadaisical with the ball in a sense. You don't like seeing things like that. So Sawyer Robertson, a little bit of a bag fumbler. You're playing Samford, man. You're playing a small school. I want to see you go out there and dominate these guys.
Yeah, I agree. And he has opportunity, and obviously what is tomorrow that we'll talk about our QB rankings. I mean, the deck is wide open, right? For you to elevate yourself and put yourself in a position, and going against a smaller school like that, a team that supposed to just flat out dominate, you should be in position to have a really good game, right? Like this should be a situation for quarterbacks like him who are not, I guess, maybe nationally known. Like I know that like we know him, deep diving in the draft community, but just household names for college football, you have an opportunity to kind of stamp yourself and put yourself in that situation. Go have a day, right? Go have 5-6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 400 yards, right? Like go have a day to be able to, and this is what those games are for. These are stat padding, resume, right? Like cut the film on. This is what I could do at my very best. This is close as it's gonna get to throwing 7-on-7, right? Like, you know what? My team just flat out better than yours. I don't have much of a rush. I'm just delivering the football. So I definitely agree with you on that. DP, I have to take the low-hanging fruit, man.
What's that?
Mr. Cade Klubnik. And it's reached a point DP, where I was thinking, is there more eligibility left? Like, and I think we're at the same spot, DP, where Carson Beck was last year. And remember, we were with Carson Beck, and we kind of came into the season like, man, this guy could potentially be a first round grade, probably a second, but could he get drafted in the first? Right. And with Cade, it's reaching, I'm not sure, territory, right? And I'm unfortunately, because we talked about it, that like, is he sure, right? Like of what's going on, and I'm confused, DP. Like I if I sound like I don't have many words, it's because I don't have many words. Because where you're sitting at now in this position, right? Like you're sitting at what they're 1-2 with even a bad showing against Troy, that you were losing in the first half of the game against Troy. And so offensively, and I asked myself, is this solely based on Antonio Williams, right? Like, will Antonio Williams come back and then the whole offense takes off again? I'm not really sure where to place the entire thing. I'm not really sure where to in place, because I think if you remove names and everything else, and you just looked at Cade in a vacuum for this year, you would be like, is this a 5th or 6th round quarterback, right? Like, because there's nothing that he showcased thus far consistently to get you in that spot. So it's tough to say, right? And I don't want to, like, consistently do the low-hanging fruit, but I know that has to be, if you're talking about guys that elevating, one of the biggest topics of guys that's falling is Cade Klubnik, like, in trying to figure out where to stop the free fall, because it's in free fall right now.
No, for sure. I mean, my comp for him is Bo Nix. He's going to need to be with a good OC that's going to set him up for success the same way Bo Nix is with, Sean Payton. Like he's like, in the Sean McVays of the world, like he falls into one of them situations. Whatever happens at Clemson this year will be completely forgotten, because he's going to be put in the right spots, the right time. You got a coach that knows what he's doing, and that's going to be able to encourage him. He's that type of quarterback to me. Like, what I mean? Some guys are wired just differently, right? Like Mahomes, did Mahomes need Andy Reid to uplift him? Not necessarily. Mahomes already was kind of who he was. It was more so refining the process. Lamar Jackson, same thing. Josh Allen, same thing. Like, those guys were already mentally where they needed to be as players, with their confidence. They couldn't be shaken. With Cade, like, and I give him credit, though, in that game, he fumbled, he threw an interception, and he kept fighting back. And just for some reason, Dabble doesn't know how to, control the clock, and use his timeouts to stop Haynes King from draining it and then kicking a 55-yard field goal. So, like, that was it's definitely a rough situation for that whole entire program right now. I think once this class, once the top players from their team graduates and goes to the draft, Dabo, good luck, man. Good luck recruiting, because right now, be completely honest, as a father, there's no way I would tell my sons to go to Clemson. Not a chance. Not to be coached by that coaching staff. Not happening. You're not about to set my kids up for failure. But Keith, I'll close it out with one guy that we both like, and I was excited to see how he would play, because they played West Virginia. Eli Holstein, man, like, God, like, up until like West Virginia lost the week before to Ohio. Like, you know what I mean? They lost to Ohio. This game, the matter of fact, I believe Pitt had like a double-digit lead in this game, and then they blew it, and somehow it went to overtime, and then they lost. He was 22 of 38, 58% completion percentage. He threw for 303 yards. He did have a passing touchdown. He had an interception. He was sacked like 6 times. His pressure to sack percentage was like 28.6. Almost 29% of his pressures were converted into sacks. Like, that's just stuff you can't have. So yeah, Eli Holstein, tough, just a tough outing for him. Against West Virginia. Again, a team that lost to Ohio the week before. And coming into the game, what was crazy, I was listening to the announcers, like, yeah, Rich Rodriguez said he might play 5 quarterbacks today. I was like, yeah, they're going to get blown out. You talking about playing 5 quarterbacks? You don't know who you want to play at quarterback, but you might play 5. They ended up playing 3, and they won. Eli, you can't let that happen. Like, you only one that played for your team. Like, you can't let that happen.
Yeah, and it's tough. And I think it's the same conversation we had with Sawyer, right? Like, just trying to elevate yourself amongst what's going on. in the quarterback landscape. But DP, let's do this, man. We talked about Moneymakers, the guys who made themselves some money. We talked about bag fumblers, the guys who stock went a little bit down. Let's put on the coaching hat, right? Grab your whistle, DP. I'm gonna grab my whistle. Grab your playbook. We're about to hop in the locker room. Coach DP, Coach K, we're hopping in the locker room. We're handing out a game ball for those guys who performed the best. Let's talk about that coming up next.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all turn to some funny places for advice. Your barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. And guys, I do not advise you do that. But not everyone is the right one when it comes to real support. That's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find the right match, someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's difficult challenges. And there was a time where I used to lean in the wrong direction and vent to the wrong person. Now I go see my therapist. Now I talk to my therapist, my licensed therapist. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/locked-on. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked-on. Hey, Locked On NFL Draft fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but guys, it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now by using my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. The game ball, man. Again, there were multiple guys I could have given my game ball to, because from whether it was Marcel Reed to Le'Veon Moss, a lot of guys. But I stayed in the SEC for this one, and I went to a quarterback that I didn't know who he was up until Saturday night, and that is Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. This young man played such a great game, 72.4% completion percentage, threw for 353 yards. He added another 6. He was their leading rusher. I think almost 70 yards rushing, 3 total touchdowns. Austin Simmons had he has an ankle injury, so he wasn't even supposed to play. He did come in in the red zone when Chambliss finger, he was bleeding or whatever. They had to get him taped up, stuff like that. So he came in and ran it, hobbled back to the huddle and then threw a touchdown, and that's the last we saw of Austin Simmons. But Trinidad Chambliss transferred in from a small school, and this young man was not afraid of the moment. He's listed at 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm going to go through that game and really study that game overall, because listening while I was watching that game live, I can't remember hearing the commentators compare him to a Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield type of quarterback. And as he's playing, I'm like, yeah, I see that mobility of young Russ when he was at NC State and that Wisconsin, and then that same toughness, grit, and moxie as a runner, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes of a Baker Mayfield. And then think about the fact that Arkansas was driving, Taylor Green got them in scoring position, receiver fumbles off of a quick pass, gives the ball back to Ole Miss, but they still have a chance in terms of Arkansas to get the ball back. Yeah, Chambliss was like, nah, QB draw, QB power. I'm going right up the gut, 8 yards on first down. It was like, well, that's it. That's game. You know what I mean? That was it. This young man played an outstanding game. And the crazy thing is he transferred in during right before fall camp. So he just got there. And in 3, he has this type of performance. I don't know. Listen, if I'm Lane, Austin Simmons is young. Brother, get healthy. If this kid can sit here and keep balling like this, I'm letting him slide. I'm letting this slide. Kid, he playing rest of the season.
DP, yeah. So I'm gonna pick up where you left off because that's exactly where I wanted to go. Right. Come Sunday, I'm walking back in the facility and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, this might be over. Like this might be your job, young man. And the reason I go to it because DP, Ole Miss has had good teams over the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for Jackson Dart and what before that it was Matt Corral, right?
Corral, yeah.
Where Austin Simmons is, he's young. It's not just a young by age thing, right? I think this is what you mean too. He's young by a perspective of seeing the game. And if you look at his stats, there are a lot of turnovers. And then I didn't even look at the analytics, but I feel as though there are a lot of turnover-worthy plays. And you're not going to win in the SEC that way, right?
Nah.
And you look at what Chambers was able to do, the guy stepped in and balled out, right? And as a quarterback, sometimes, especially with high profile, I don't even want to just call them high profile like they're just known guys, but let's see guys that are very skilled play callers, like a Lane Kiffin, right? Like the Lincoln Rileys. You go to the NFL, the Shanahans, the McVays. They just want you to run the offense. Don't turn the football over. I'm going to call the play, deliver the football where I say deliver the football. And Lane is one of those guys because he draws it up. And when you watch Chambers versus Simmons, what you seen was a guy that didn't put the football in harm's way. And I think that's where you start to have an interesting conversation of, hey, we're stepping into SEC play because you look at that Kentucky game, DP, that was last Saturday they played Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, it was a lot of situations where that game could have went all the way left for Ole Miss, right? And in Austin, he has a flash play where you're like, I get why you're the starter. And then he has probably about 2 or 3 plays where you're like,
you're young.
Come talk to me. What did you see? Right? Like you and unfortunately, the what did you see conversations are for spring ball and fall camp. Once we get in the season, I don't want to keep asking you what you see because usually if I'm asking you that, right? That's not good. That's not good at all.
I don't want to have to keep asking the same question over and over.
Yeah.
Real quick, kid, I want to throw some numbers behind you. You said you brought up the turnover-worthy plays. So he has 4 talking about Austin Simmons.
Yep.
Georgia State and Kentucky, the 2 games he started, he threw 4 interceptions. In those games, PFF has him at 5 turnover-worthy plays. So 4 of his 5 turnover-worthy plays went for interceptions. So yeah, you can. And Trinidad did not put the ball in harm's way at all. 0 turnover-worthy plays against Arkansas's defense.
Yep, 100%. So I'm right there with you, DP, and I think he deserves a shout out. And let's see where this goes with the QB class, right? Because this thing is in the air.
Listen, if he plays like that all season, the rest of the season, if he gets the opportunity, if Lane says, you know what, because he's a senior, he transferred from Ferris State. He's a senior. So it's like, do I just run with the young man that's played ball? I
think so, DP.
In my opinion, with it.
I don't see as a coach and how coaches think. I don't see.
And then that was a big time game at night, at home against Arkansas. Taylor Green, at one point, I'm getting texts from people at BR. Like, yo, are you watching this Ole Miss Arkansas game? I feel like this is gonna be like a who has the ball last type of situation. I was like 100%. Like they're going score for score. Taylor Green is out there just cool as a cucumber.
Yep.
Like the game was 41-35. You know what I mean? And the fact that Trinidad played with such a low pulse in that situation, his first true SEC game, that could have went so. Keith, we've seen guys get thrown into those situations. That could have went left fast, and he was like, "Nah, I'm putting this team on my," because the running back, they couldn't run the ball. I think they held the running back to less than 3 yards per carry. So they shut the run game down except for when Trinidad was running the ball. So just a true, I would call it a Superman performance. He put the cape on, put the team on his back. He's like, I'm gonna take us to victory and make sure we get, because their defense couldn't really get stops. They got that strip fumble or whatever, that fumble. But other than that, they were getting scored on left and right in that game.
Yep, 100%. All right, DP, let me help her throw my hat on and my whistle, man, before we have to end this podcast. We talked about him on Friday. I got to give him the credit. And it's more low-hanging fruit, but we had the conversation, said, yo, this is a potential upset. I got to give it to Haynes King, right? And we talked about it. We went in detail of the battle of Cade Klubnik having all the tools, Haynes King having the heart, who's going to show up, who's going to, prove to be worthy of winning the game. And it was just more of a Haynes King type of performance. Like an announcer said it, like this guy's listed at 220 pounds. He is not 220 pounds. He's probably 203, right? He might be 220 with every helmet, shoulder pad, thigh pads, everything else in. Then he might be 220 pounds. But the guy is just scrappy at the end of the day, DP. And I have to give him the game ball because that was so big for Georgia Tech's situation in the entire ACC, right? Like you go in, you knock off Clemson, and we'll put Clemson in the bucket of, and I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can, just like somewhat dysfunctional right now, right? So we'll put them in that bucket. There's a lot of dysfunction going on with that team. But you ignore it like that's not your problem, right? Their problem is not your problem. And you went in, you won a game, and you think about just the big context of the ACC, DP. And you think about, okay, cool, we have Miami out there. We have Florida State out there. We just beat Clemson. What is Duke going to be? What is North Carolina be? What is Boston College going to be? Do we have a shot? Like now you're walking in the building, DP. It's Monday morning, and you walking in the building like, yo, could we win a national championship? But that's what a win like
this might be the ACC champions.
Yeah, that's what it like. Hey, we playoffs. You start talking playoffs, right? Like that's what you start saying, and that's the momentum that you start feeling for yourself. So I have to give it to Haynes King, and obviously there were plenty of players that played a part in it. Those wide receivers, they were all scrapping. They all made big time plays. The defenders, I'm thinking of the safety, man. The kid is from Florida. I'll remember it, but it was the safety from Georgia Tech, and he stepped Amari Harvey. Had a big time play on the goal line. I think they were trying to run an option or some type of sprint out or something, and he stepped up and stopped the run. Right, like they have guys that scrappy. They have veterans. They have seniors. Seems like they have a good culture. I was watching the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was watching the game, and their head coach, Brent Key, and it was I don't know if you remember this part too. It's kind of like an awkward moment where the announcer like kind of had the mic in his face, and you could tell he kind of just didn't want to talk, but she kept asking him questions, and he was answering it. Then she kind of took the mic away and put it back. But overall, his overarching thing was like, let's just win by 1 point. Like that's all we need to do. We need to score one more point than what they have. And
came in the win.
Yeah, and that's how it came down to. So I'm giving the game ball to Haynes King, and honestly, the entire Georgia Tech football program. Y'all are ascending, and those type of wins ascend you. Don't have a hiccup this week, because then we'll have to talk about you in the bag fumblers. Don't have a hiccup this week. So, but
please don't.
Yeah, don't do it. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you again for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. On tomorrow's episode, it's time to talk quarterbacks, QBs of the week, those stock risers and those stock fallers on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.